Hello everybody, Autistic Genius here. Just to let you know, this will be a very short video as I have no electricity in the house. So I'm doing this literally on pure battery power, so I've got to do this nice and short and get it edited, and it will probably be uploaded at some point this evening, maybe quite late at night. So I apologise in advance for that. Today we're talking about hyper and hypersensitivity. As yesterday you asked me a lot more questions in regards to I will be finishing the week. So by the end of the week we would have covered all of the 5 main senses. But today, as it's got to be quick, I'm just going to talk about touch. Hypersensitivity! As you may remember, hyper means undersensitive or not as like undersensitive. So they may have a very high pain threshold. So for example, like a good concept is, you never heard of hot potato? So like if you're playing hot potato, just imagine this is a really hot potato, a hot happy potato, and you'd be like, oh, it's really hot. You'd be like, oh, neurotypical, like, oh my god, this is... Whereas the Aspie might be like, it's not that they don't feel the pain, that they feel it, but because of the brain processing, because obviously pain is information, the touching of the item, and the pain is information. It may be a delay because they're processing the item and then the pain comes second, or it could literally be that the brain's just processing it in the wrong way, and the brain, it's not, instead of warning you, the brain's saying, this actually feels kind of nice. When you hurt yourself, you go, ah! And that's the brain's way of telling you, no. Whereas the autistic person might go, I like this. I like this feeling. It's quite nice. May self-harm. When I say may self-harm, it's not like as in the way that you're thinking. Some people with autism might be having itch, might be obsessed with scratching their head, and they'll just keep going, and they'll just keep going until eventually. And it gets a bit like, oh yes, that's nice. Because sometimes when you have an itch, it feels nice. And you're like, oh yeah, that's nice. Oh, that feels really nice. And you get another one there and you're like, oh, that's really nice. Oh my god. Well, you get another one there and it's just, because it feels nice, you just keep doing it. Till eventually, you break the skin and you get blood. That's what they mean by may self-harm. Because they just basically become obsessive with a feeling. And because it's hypo, and when you're hypo, you crave something. It's like when you're diabetic, you get a hypo because you crave something, because you need something to boost yourself. So like, it's because it's a craving, you keep doing it, and you're like, oh my god, and it keeps going and going, and you will eventually hurt yourself. But you know, I bite my nails, because I get must be for that. I'm obsessive sometimes, and it does hurt, and I self-harm doing it because I get obsessed. Enjoy heavy objects and weighted blankets on top of them. There's a really interesting theory about this. There was a coat that was slightly tighter than normal, or something that they brought out, and it was meant to be slightly tighter because it felt like a hug, and then the hug releases like endorphins or makes you feel relaxed. And that's the same concept with weighted blankets. When you it makes the brain, it gives the brain that feeling of a human connection. Those chemicals or God knows what go around your body saying, oh, this is nice, oh, this is lovely. Autism struggles to get that with a person maybe. With a weighted blanket, it can kind of feel similar, so the brain will go, oh, this feels like human connection. And then, but because the autistic person, so it doesn't get, it may feel like it, they'll just go, oh, it is. The brain might just go, it is human connection. They're like, oh, that's so nice. So it might just feel like someone's giving them a nice hug. So if your child doesn't hug you and it likes weighted blankets, it's because the weighted blanket's a hug, and it's probably imagining hugging you, and it's like, oh. Hypersensitive or oversensitive. Touch can be painful. This may affect the relationship with other people. When they say touch is painful, it could be like, for example, it could be another way of the brain giving a sensory overload. So like if you're in a, so if you're an Aspie, and you're just kind of like a bit like not feeling great, and some guy's just coming up, and you're like got noises going on, and you're on the verge of going, and someone just touches you and goes, DOW! That's just a form of overload. A really good thing is somebody like with autism, never go up to an Aspie and touch them on the back without them knowing you're there. Oh my god. If Mr. Fred come along and, without me knowing, comes up to me and just goes, I could literally go, ah! It just becomes an instinct, like you just, alright mate. But if you go, hey Tom, alright mate, you're right. There you go. That's that sorted. I hate socks. I wear them more, like, the thing is with socks, I don't really like socks. The thing is I don't like socks is because I can feel them. It's weird, like, if I'm at home now, I can feel them on my feet. Because I'm thinking about it, and it makes me feel a bit weird. In fact, I'm going to have to take them off. I've got, look, I can't, no, I just can't bear it. Why do we wear socks and shoes? My mother goes, why don't you wear matching socks? And I go, why do I need to wear matching socks? I keep me flipping shoes on when I'm out and about. Hands up, like things on. I don't mind things on hands. It's when sometimes if it goes in between the fingers and it feels a bit, and that it just becomes, because obviously it's information. You got to remember, it's always everything's information. So all the every other little bits that are on the hand, it's information. So it's going like that. It's like instead of it being dirty hands, it's there's a bit there, 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 there's a bit up there. And you're like. Difficulties washing hair or brushing hair because of hair sensitive. I'm funny about my hair being pulled. My hair being pulled sends me crazy. Like if someone snuck up me and did that as a joke, I'd be like, do not get out, you know. The reason why it's distressing is because, like I say, autistic people don't get the full picture. If your hair comes out, you won't necessarily realise maybe if you're neurotypical, or you pull your hair out and you pull like you'll feel like, for example, if you're pulling your hair and you got a bit, and you're like and it's like you'll feel it as one thing, whereas someone with autism will process it as would process that as not just one thing, and it will process each individual strand of hair, which is exactly what I do. Like I'll go for my haircut and I can feel each hair going ding ding coming out if it's being pulled out, or they're kind of like it actually feels like I'm being dragged. It's horrid. Oh, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Washing my hair I quite like because it's like, oh that's nice. Oh that's nice. Oh I like this. I like hair being washed. Don't like it being brushed or cut. Hate it, hate it, hate it. It causes big pain. It hurts. Certain types of clothing, for me, it's the stuff that itches. So if it itches, just take it off. I can't flipping stand itchy clothes. If we put it on and it itches, I don't want to wear it. I've learned that it'll eventually go away, so sometimes I can cope. But when I was younger, itchy clothes would send me absolutely balmy. And I'd be like, oh, it's itchy. And then you obviously, like I say, the itchy stuff, you start itchy, you're like, itchy, itchy. And then you might break the skin because you're constantly itching, you don't get that it's the clothes, so you're like, oh, it's itchy. And it can be a vicious cycle. It can be a vicious cycle with some kids. I hope I've been some help. It's been, apologies, I've not given you more information. May not be much going on today because obviously Jules is mega busy, I'm mega busy. So I apologise if we don't get back to you straight away today, but we will always do our best to talk to as many people as possible. Thank you all so much for your kind words and kind support. I appreciate all the help. And goodbye!